Frozen was the biggest animated hit of all time. How did you have the guts to to take on another part?
Guts or
Maybe
stupidity, I don't know.
naivete.
Okay.
Yeah, we. It was interesting. It was about a year after the film. We were doing a short, and we saw them animated, and we got emotional, and we realized we missed them. And Peter had been traveling the world, our producer, and a lot of people kept asking, "Why does Elsa have powers? What's next for Anna? Where were the parents going?" And we had the same questions, and so
and then we
had that
just
moment.
we looked at each other. We're like, all right, let's do this again. But we were excited about the journey that we thought that they could have. You know, we looked at the end of the first film as sort of a graduation day, the happy ending. But the world was now open to them, and so what does that mean? You know, where are they going to go? The path they're going to find, and what do they have to give the world? So that got
Of
us
course,
excited.
we knew that we wouldn't do it unless Bobby and Kristen would come along for the ride, and
Yes.
thankfully
We
they
still
said yes.
remember the little unofficial week before it was announced,
Yes.
saying like, "You didn't hear it from me, Bobby."
She
and
called with
Kristen."
this sheepish voice, like, "Hey guys," we're like, "What?" And she's like, "I think we have a story for Frozen 2." And talking about it today, I realized how meta it was because we were literally all feeling this call that there was more to know, and we were all stepping into the unknown together. It really was this when people are asking us to talk about into the unknown and what inspired into the unknown, and I was like, it's because what we were
Please
all going
welcome
through.
Kristen
Hey, Kristen Bell is here with a matching water bottle.
Guys,
which is how
come
the real
on. We're
movie
not
stars
supposed to
do it.
plastics anymore. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but we can't do plastics. We
Yes.
gotta bring ours.
And they have to match.
And they have to match. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Kristen. You were.
I mean, I was just basically saying we were all like, they were like, how did you guys come up with the story? And we say everything happens with Chris Bach and Jennifer Lee. Like there's no song before the story has inspired us. But then I realized the story was our story. We were all stepping into the unknown together, and we were all feeling this sort of maybe we should. And by the time you start engaging with the idea of actually doing it, before you know it, you're doing it, which is
And it is the first animated musical sequel.
that's what we have heard that
That's
Disney
what we've
Animation has
heard,
ever
at
done.
least. Yeah, at least what we've done.
I
Yes.
believe that. The original was based on Hans Christian Andersen's Snow Queen, and at the same time, this, to my knowledge, isn't part of. So you're basically creating an original sequel, which is something that usually the sequel feels like you've seen the first movie and now you're seeing it again. This is incredibly different. So where did all this come from?
Well, I think we knew the only reason to do this is if we were evolving. If this is for us was not, this was sort of chapter 2, then this was them. We wanted to look at change. We all know the day after, we say happily ever after, but we know change happens in life. The sisters are now together, but Elsa has these powers. Seeing them mature and grow up was what really mattered to us, and telling that journey. It wasn't about looking back, and so we knew if we were going to confront Elsa's powers, it's going to get bigger. The idea that she will go up against, in life, you go up against obstacles you don't know how to face, and really keeping that metaphor of growing up and change throughout. And that's, we went into it that way, and there's so much we found along the way. We took many routes, but found that just kept re-supporting these sisters and this inner strength they have that I don't even think we knew how big it was. And we're proud of them. They kind of told us where they wanted to go, and they were willing to do a lot. So.
Could you talk about how you decide what type of song and what placement of song?
Well, it all starts with story, and we work very closely with Jen and Chris and the story team at Disney. Sometimes every day we would have a call, and just talking through the story, they would pitch us things that they'd come up with in the interim, and we would always have a little bit of fresher ears because we would then forget everything until the next day. So sometimes we'd have ideas that were totally irrelevant, and sometimes they would help. But really, what we're looking for are places where a character is faced with a decision and the emotion is so high that they can't really talk anymore. They have to break into song. And by the end of the song, that there's been a climax and something has changed irrevocably. So that's what we're looking for in every single one, and it never gets easier. But we all kind of hack at it together until we get it. Sometimes we submit half of a song and they give us feedback about that. Sometimes they give us artistic inspiration too. Beautiful artwork that helps us finish a song or helps us take it to the right direction.
And to speak to your sort of, there's an eclecticism to this score, and that's the thing that unifies all of these songs is they're all about change. Mm-hmm. In the first movie, that we were also using that eclectics, and by eclectic, fancy word, means like you jump through different genres. It's not just like all one type of song. The first movie was every song had to do with love. This one, every song has to do with change in some way, and each character is having to go through their own personal journey to lead to growth. So in the case of Olaf, Olaf tends to lend himself to sort of old vaudeville. There's an innocence and a naivete to that music, and Olaf tends to sing in sort of that vaudeville kind of way. Whereas Christoph, who we get to hear from for the first time in this whole movie, Christoph, we were looking for how could he sing the biggest, most passionate feelings in a way that would work? And we actually worked with these guys to find a way to allow us to go into a stylized 80s power ballad and really sing like the power ballads that I used to listen to when my boyfriends broke up with me when I was 15, and like, we're in heaven. And if you get one thing from Christoph's song, I hope you get the permission to feel all your feelings in the biggest 80s way.
Kristen and Adina, I'm just curious about your work together and how you work to create different characters and at the same time create that sisterhood. Do you get to record together, first of all, and sometimes?
One time in the first movie did we record in the second movie together?
Yeah,
I remember.
Lullaby.
Oh, the lullaby, of course. I know what you're doing when you said that.
Yeah.
Well, look, when I first met Adina, I was asked to go to her house and prepare a duet that we would sing for some Disney executives in a boardroom at the animation building. And even though Adina hit Broadway at such a young age, and I was watching her going, oh my Lord, this is my idol, this is the girl. And so when I was told to go to her house and sing at her piano, I was like, I couldn't breathe, and I walked in and my palms were sweaty, and I was doing exactly what Anna would do, and I was talking too much, and I was like, I'm so nervous, I feel like I'm gonna puke. And she just put her hand on my shoulder and she was like, you sound beautiful, this is gonna be great. And it was exactly what my older sisters do to me, and I have siblings, and it was like perfect from the moment we met. And I think in the movie, it's representative of the siblings that I'm not exactly like my sisters at all. In fact, we're very different. But there's something about being cut from the same cloth. It's, could have something to do about sharing the same DNA. But if you grow up in the same household, that's just as good. But there's something that bonds you. There are, what Adina had been bringing up earlier was this idea of what we were so proud of. We uncovered and discovered self-love and familial love in the first film. And that's what made us so proud, because almost all other movies are about romantic love. And that's not bad. It's just, personally, I think that self-love and familial love are important to hit before you get to romantic love. And I love working with Adina.
Yeah. And I love working with Kristen. And I think what we really love about being able to play these sisters is this fierce loyalty they have for one another, and how they would do anything for each other, and how they actually really, more than anything, want the other one to feel fully realized in their life, and that they're pursuing their passion, and that whatever it is, that they find their purpose in life and their authentic reason for living. And it's this pure thing that, I mean, I feel that way in real life. She's very supportive of me, and she reminds me of my younger sister, who's like 3.5 years younger than me, and who is sort of an old soul. And I just find, like, Kristen is so wise and so eloquent, and I often look to her. My sister got married first, and she had babies first, and it's the same thing. I look to my sister when I'm going through a crisis, and I would do the same if it was Kristen. I feel like I look up to her in a lot of ways.
So it's easy. The job is easy. That's
Yeah, right.
That's the short answer. But I will say the one last thing is it is this, to me, this beautiful reminder, and I don't think everybody gets this, and we certainly as human beings on planet Earth forget this every day. You don't have to agree with everyone to love them. We're supposed to be different. You know, it's like this famous Voltaire quote, "I may not believe in what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it." We are not supposed to be carbon copies of each other. So the sisters are very different, and they argue in this film, and they have disagreements, but the fierce loyalty comes from this undercurrent of love, and it is okay to disagree with the people that you love.
Thank you all for putting this together, and I think the audience had a great time today.